are on. We are now on.
Thanks.
She distributed it right before the meeting.
You all set? Wait till these guys are. Okay, welcome. It's Tuesday, February 16th, and this is the Village of New Paltz Planning Board meeting. We have two items for tonight that are applications. PB 1604 is a site plan amendment for two cottages at Woodland Pond, and PB 1603 is a preliminary subdivision lot line revision at 64 Plains Road. We only have 3 planning board members tonight and our alternate. And I have a cold, and I'm wondering if we might move some of the zoning stuff until next meeting.
Absolutely.
The recreation fee, I'm trying to think, we just got some stuff from our attorney, but it came kind of late. And so we had gotten things from our planner, but I would wonder if we could hold off on everything in zoning except for the update about 21223. Is that
Good with me.
is that okay? Is that okay, Dave?
Prerogative, Mr. Chairman.
Then I'll exercise it. Thank you, because I'm pretty wiped out. Okay, so with that modification, then let's start in. So PB 1604 are 2 cottages at Woodland Pond. You want to come on up? You were here a few years ago.
2 years ago.
Right.
Yes. With 3, we did 3 cottages at
Right.
the time. Yes.
Good. Well, I guess people like them.
Went well. Yes.
Great.
Went well.
So this is basically the same. You've got 2 adjacent cottages. You're putting
Yes.
sunrooms on those.
Correct. Same design as before. Same blueprint as before. These cottages are they happen to be right next to each other.
Right.
2 on the same cottage, like duplex.
So this is sort of an aside, but maybe it's relevant. The last time there seemed to be a holdup. I can't remember why, but it seemed like it took a while between when you submitted and when we finally decided.
I think it was they were trying to determine a fee.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay.
So they had to adjourn to go over the fee
Right.
and come up with that.
Yeah, I think we've sorted that out this
And I
time.
don't remember it being a difficult process, but that was the only thing.
Okay.
They
All
weren't
right.
sure of what to do.
Right, because it didn't make sense to charge you 25% of what the original Woodland Pond construction fee was. Right. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah. So, okay. So, as far as seeker goes, this is a type 2 action, so we needn't go any further than that. Are there any specific questions that either of you have before we make a completeness determination?
No.
No? All right. So, as far as I'm concerned, Dan, I'd like to make a motion that this application is complete. It's exempt from sending to county, and so we could set a public hearing for our next meeting, which is March 1st at 7 o'clock. So that's a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that's all for tonight. You should get in touch with Christina tomorrow, and she'll give you the information that you need to. What you'll need to do is post the property,
Okay.
and you'll need to do a mailing to neighbors. I certainly hope you don't have to mail it to everyone at Woodland Pond.
They, what they did last.
What did they do last time? They posted
had,
inside?
was it Aaron, a young lady, Brogan, I think was her first name.
Brogan, yeah.
Yes. She came up with a list, and it was just basically some neighbors off the road,
Okay,
North Putt Road. It was kind of not the facility because it's just
Too
so
many
many,
people.
but it was basically neighbors that
Okay.
were in a certain radius.
Okay.
Real houses.
all right,
That's what she came up with a list, and
All
I
right.
just mailed them out.
great. So Christina, if you want to take a look at the previous iteration of this, when Jim did this a couple of years ago, then you could probably come up with the same list, give it to him.
And using the same site map from the last time also?
Sure, yeah. So, and he's identified in his packet which cottages they are.
Yep.
So you'll want to make sure you post the property and get the mailings out so that they're at least 10 days before March 1st.
Okay.
And then we'll be responsible for putting it into next week's paper.
Okay.
All right?
We have to get these signs.
Yep, she'll
made.
have those.
So you'll give me the letter, and then I'll go get the signs made, and then
Yeah, I'll
just
give you-
post them around the facility.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll send you all the information. I can probably send it via email, actually.
You've got my address and everything
Yes.
yours. Okay.
All right, so then we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
All right,
You
take
can
care.
just post the scarlet letter right at the entrance to the property.
Right. you get a little-
That's what it is.
It kind of is. Isn't it?
it is.
In color also.
Fuchsia letter.
All right.
Oh, fuchsia letter. Let us not be crazy.
So Patty, we're ready for you. All right, so this is PB 1603. This is a subdivision lot line revision at 64 Plains Road.
Is that the small one or the big one?
What's that? Well, it's,
Because they're right next to each other.
I was confused by the two maps. Yeah.
Yeah, the smaller map is a photocopy of a subdivision map that previously was approved by the village board. And it shows the location of Da Vinci Way, which was one of the issues that had been raised, or something that we required, that was requiring clarification on our part on the map. So we submitted a copy of that, of the subdivision map that was adjoining this property.
Oh, okay.
So the action before the board actually is the lot line revision of the adjoining properties to the east, which are under title of Discovery Institute.
These
So
properties.
it's this property here.
Yep, okay. So this was just to provide extra information. With
It
not
was.
this, okay.
so we're proceeding with this tonight?
Well, I wanted to bring the board up to date with where we were. We had received the comment letter from Planner Gilmore and the building inspector. We had the opportunity to meet with David.
for you. There you go.
To review the issues and concerns, and we've addressed, made the mapping revisions accordingly, and I believe addressed the majority of the concerns on the map. One of the issues was with regard to the encroachment of house number 1 on lot number 1 onto adjoining lands of Musamichi. And there was a recommendation by Planner Gilmore to try to contact the neighbor and see if that were something that could be remedied. So the owners have contacted the adjoining neighbor, and she is interested in remedying that situation.
Okay.
So at this point in time, we're not ready to go through with a public hearing because we would like the opportunity to revise the current application before
Okay.
the board to include that lot line revision and remedy all of the problems at one
Okay.
point in time.
Sure.
But this evening, if the board had any particular questions or concerns regarding the overall application, I'm certainly more than happy to try to answer them.
Parcel A, was the septic areas tested at all?
The septic area was approved in that location back in 1991 when the original lot was created. And now we're actually increasing that lot size by 0.61 acres. So the original lot with the approved septic system was 0.53, and now it will be increased to 1.14.
But
We
that,
have not
that
gone
original
back-
approval is not good enough.
Right, we have not gone back to the Board of Health to get a new approval on that. We're requesting the board to waive that at this point in time, as it was suitable in 91. We've increased the acreage, not decreased it. The applicant actually just now in the hallway was speaking with the building inspector. He personally is going to build his residence on that lot, and so he was discussing with him what the process is to do that. So that will be coming back, I guess, if site plans approval is required for single-family dwellings, that should be coming back.
I think we should have a letter in writing requesting that we accept the 1991.
I did. That was part of my memorandum to the board.
Oh, we did get that? I apologize.
It was just part of my response memorandum.
Right.
A letter regarding the 1991 septic approval as still being in force, or it's not in force?
It's not in force, no.
But it's still being,
Basically,
approving a lot without a septic approval, this just isn't done.
Yeah, in my letter, it says Lot 3 is an existing building lot with the proposed house and septic depicted as per the previous approval. As we are enlarging the lot and there are no immediate plans to construct a dwelling, which I'm finding out tonight might not be the case, we request that the Board of Health approval be submitted prior to the issuance of a building permit. And that was in the memorandum that was submitted on February 9th. That wasn't too bad.
No, that wasn't bad at all.
Not yet.
Presumably there'd be a site plan review also, correct?
Yeah, there would have to be. The reason for wanting to delay getting Board of Health approval for septic is...
Well, at the point in time that I was originally contracted to do the work, there were no plans to
I see.
immediately build a house. They're only valid for 3 years.
Okay.
And so it was more, why get another Board of Health permit in the same location
I
for
see.
it to expire again? That may be something that the applicant rethinks at this point in time
Okay.
if construction is imminent. So I definitely will raise that issue with them. Because now the Board of Health approvals are good for 3 years, or 2 years, and
2
then you
years,
can
yeah,
renew for
yeah.
a year, so
Okay.
effectively 3 years.
Other questions, Rich?
No? No?
Liz?
Yeah, I do have a quick question.
Sure.
Lot number 2, the blue line to the west.
Yes.
Two blues.
That is
The
the-
19784 and the
Yep,
13542.
3542.
Are those existing?
They are.
Okay.
All the blue lot lines are existing, and the red lot lines
Are
are
the
proposed.
proposed? Okay.
Yes.
So, the blues are already a pre-existing
Correct.
allowed. Uh-huh. And I'm surprised that Lot 1 is not, I have no idea if there's no concern about it, but there's a fence to the adjoining owner that seems to be encroaching by quite a bit.
Yeah, at this point in time, since all of the lots were owned by Discovery Institute,
I see.
the lot lines were more or less imaginary lines from their perspective. Once lot number 2 is sold, I would imagine that they will revise their fences to be more conforming to where the lot lines are. The original, the lot lines pretty much were always drawn on paper, but not necessarily adhered to on the ground.
And the encroaching fence to the adjoining owner, Oregon,
Yes.
was that also part of?
No, that was not part of this original. All of the surrounding neighbors to the west are members of the not-for-profit Discovery Institute.
So it was,
Yes, again.
everybody
and-
got along,
and
played
that's
nice in the
yeah,
sandbox,
and
got
that's the
it.
reason, Musamichi, right now, the parking area that we've shown on lands of Musamichi actually is the parking area for house number 1. And there's a driveway maintenance agreement which was submitted that allows that parking to take place. But perhaps as part of this lot line revision, there's now an understanding that even though they all get along, that the ownerships of individual parcels perhaps are not going to be that way forever. And
Yeah.
that now that they have the opportunity to remedy whatever issues there may be, now might be the right time to do it.
Right, set up.
So there's not an easement granted to?
There is an easement granted, and that's referred to
That's right,
on
that's right. That's right.
November 8,
Yep. So, yeah, we'll want to see a copy of that.
and that was submitted.
Yeah. So how does, on lot 2, how do people currently access that house, since there's no drive off?
They
of the
park,
drive? They come down the gravel drive?
yeah, right where house 4 is, they park in
Right.
that area there. So that's why we've shown a proposed new driveway to be constructed to independently access that lot.
Right. Other things?
And again, one of the other issues that were raised by both the planner and the building inspector were with regard to exactly what are the uses, approved uses, not necessarily even what they're currently using them for, but what's in the building department record. So we put a list of the lot uses, and come to find out, the house that we have labeled on lot number 2, the certificate of occupancy for that, which was issued in 1993, and also a special use permit granted through site plan approval, is for a private school and a 1-bedroom apartment. So when that lot gets conveyed, if the plan is to use that for something other than that, say just a single-family residence, the applicant has been advised, and I've spoken with the building inspector about correcting the record, doing whatever approvals through the building department are required to make sure that the certificate of occupancy and the use match one another.
And that's the house on lot 2?
Correct.
Oh, thank you.
And that's listed on underneath the bulk requirements
Got
of
it,
the lot
okay.
usage.
So
Thank
again,
you.
they're requesting that we allowed that to exist through this process.
Yeah, it's
Even
already
though
an
it's
approved
private.
use. Yeah, that is what a certificate of occupancy on it right now is. So if whoever purchases lot number 2 wants to have a 1-room schoolhouse with a 1-bedroom apartment, he's legal and able to do that at this point in
But
time.
currently, it's not a 1-room schoolhouse in the apartment.
Right now, it's vacant.
Oh, now it's vacant. Oh, okay.
Totally
It says
vacant.
house or something on there.
I think it's contingent on how long it's been.
Yeah, I'm wondering if after a year or so it goes by that
If
that
that's still
may
in,
expire.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, and I can meet again with the building inspector, because I had asked him when we met to do the lot uses what the process would be, and he recommended scheduling an appointment with him to remedy the situation. So I'm sure he has not had the opportunity, although he made the records available to me, I reviewed them. He certainly needs to look at them with regard to.
And in lot 2, which I assume lot 2 has existing septic.
Yes, that's shown on the map. We showed the septic pump chamber.
Okay, yes,
And then
okay, thank you.
northwesterly of that is the septic area.
Got it,
And that
okay.
was based on an approval granted by the Ulster County Board of Health also in 1993.
Thank you, okay.
My understanding, that's a system that's shared between structures.
No, not the one for lot number 2.
Not two, sorry.
Yeah, you are correct. The other one is totally shared between all the other 4 dwellings, and
Oh,
we
on
did-
lot 1?
On lot number 1, and we also had submitted for the record the plan that the engineer had
oh,
designed.
is that what that is?
Yeah,
I'm
that's
having
what
a
that
hard
is.
time for sure.
That was approved back in 2001, and we generally showed on the plat where the septic tanks are, where the septic pump chamber is, how they all tie together, and then leach to the existing septic area.
So this is from 1991?
2001, 15th of October 2001, there's kind of a convoluted there.
Oh, thank you. And it's, okay. Other things, Liz?
Nope.
So the existing homes are all currently on municipal water?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And,
I have a question.
yeah, go ahead.
In lot 2, utility is fed off of house 4 and lot 1?
Yes, that was also another issue that was raised by the planner, and the applicant is aware of the fact that mutual easements need to be granted back and forth between lot number 1 and lot number 2 to continue. They're unclear at this point in time. Some people from Discovery Institute thought that the electric itself went underground from the pole to the house, and that it was just telephone and cable that was going from house to house. So they are in the process of investigating that right now, but they're aware that before they sell lot number 2, they better make sure that there are cross easements to cover any utilities that may be crossing lot lines.
So they would rather just do an easement instead of re-stringing the wire?
And I think part of that has to do with what Central Hudson is willing to do.
I see, okay.
I'm sure they would be willing to do it if the property owner will pay for it.
Right.
So
Right.
that might be a lot cleaner. Anything else, Bill?
No, that's,
So, just some procedural things, Patty. On
Yep.
your on your EAF, you've got the EAF mapper came up with some archaeologically sensitive area. Do you have any idea what that is?
No, because we actually would have to hire some, because they won't release that information,
Oh, they don't,
because
okay.
if it's, when it's archaeologically sensitive, they don't want everybody racing out there to
Right.
look for whatever that particular thing is.
Okay.
And in this instance, since we were merely adjusting lot lines and not proposing any new construction, I was hoping that the board would waive the requirement of that extra step.
We could. I mean, the issue will be when he comes back for
Site plan.
Site plan for lot 3, if it still pops up at that point. I mean, oftentimes it's not even. It can be nearby. It might not even
Correct.
be exactly on the property.
Right.
Okay.
And unfortunately, they won't tell us.
Right.
Will they tell us that it's not on lot number 3?
I don't know, David, do you have any experience with?
And it'd just be a lot cleaner than
Certainly.
trying
I
to
know.
prove this.
Right. yeah.
Certainly, you could make the inquiry of.
The DEC directly?
Of SHPO directly and see if they have records and want to make the sensitivity call or not.
Okay.
Especially if you give them a more specific potential envelope for building.
Okay,
Yeah. I mean, if you
You
can
know,
say it's,
sometimes if it's like a pre-contact site or something like that, it might be close to a water body, but who knows what they're looking at. I didn't go on to CRISP myself to look at this case.
yeah. Yeah, it might be helpful to know that if it's not on lot 3, it'll just
Okay.
make our job a little
Yeah,
easier.
and not just the building site, but the whole lot.
Yeah.
right, it might be
I-
it might be in the rear portion of the lot where the wetlands are.
Right,
and-
yeah,
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And point
then it
being-
would prove to us that where they're building, it doesn't matter.
Okay,
It's just that if this is gonna be a buildable lot, you know, not knowing whether or not there's a septic is available, not knowing whether it's got a problem with historical,
Right.
dig, there's too many questions.
Yeah, it would be easier to try to resolve those.
Yeah.
The wetlands that came up are all the federal wetlands that are mapped in
Yes.
the rear?
yes.
Okay, and so those will all become part of lot 1,
Correct,
and that's not a buildable area.
correct.
Okay. And that encompasses pretty much the entire 100-year floodplain area too.
Yes.
So that's fine.
And that's the green hatched,
Yeah.
green dash,
yes.
okay.
That gray, where it says approximate flood zone, this,
Yeah, that
Oh,
runs, that
okay.
runs up to about here, and
That's
then the
the one that's
wetland
the
is
flood zone, and then-
demarcated by the
yeah.
dotted line.
Yeah.
Okay,
so the flood zone is larger than the federal wetland designation.
Yeah, but it stays away from all of the current buildings.
got it.
So, let's just take a quick look at this memo. I know you've addressed most of the issues came from the planner and the building inspector. So I think rather than go through those tonight, since you're gonna submit some
Revised
sort of
plans.
revision, and if it turns out that he knows he's building, then.
Right,
we can
then
move
we'll go
forward
ahead with
some
the
of
Board of
that.
Health and, yeah,
Um,
just makes good sense.
Yeah, so if you could get some information about this one red flag on the EAF.
Yeah, we'll
That would
reach
be
out to
helpful.
SHPO, send them a copy of the map of where the proposed development is, and ask if they can supply additional information regarding that.
So, okay, so at this point then, we won't go any further in terms of completeness or setting a public
Right.
hearing. And
Yeah, I don't think we're ready
we'll
for
wait
that.
for that revision.
So with this preliminary plan, what I hear you saying is we'll continue the completeness consideration. We've discussed whether there is or is not a school, which it seems like there is interest in knowing about septic system, and a school also will influence the zoning on the lot. So having resolution of the school, presumably that doesn't apply, will help with your zoning, your base zoning for the property. And then the other question will be with how we treat the septic. Presumably, maybe we won't treat that now, so that you haven't got another, I don't know how you work that with seeker with another involved agency being county planning. I don't know if they're identified in the EAF now, if you follow me with other
Yeah.
involved agencies. So just as we're thinking about how we'll process seeker, okay?
Yeah,
Right, because I did, in the EAF, I said that this action did not require another permit from any other governmental agency. If we determine that because I had asked for the waiver of the Board of Health approval.
Right.
If we determine that we go ahead with the Board of Health right now, I probably should revise the EAF. And then I think generally what the Board of Health prefers is that this board do the determination of significance, and then they rely on that as part of their action.
okay.
And
They-
then with this preliminary plan, we'll see, it sounded like also edits to the possible Musanishi encroachment issue.
Yeah, so we'll get a revised plan.
And I'm just
As far as that goes.
noting that I think the agenda says that this is just checking my latest agenda. I think the agenda says that this is a sketch, but in fact, I think
Yeah, no,
we're showing
We're
now
showing it as preliminary.
labeling as a preliminary plat.
right, yeah, we'll go for, that's what you can submit again. So, you okay with that, Rich, in terms of the septic for now?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, so we'll wait to get updated
Updated
material
maps
from you?
for me. Okay,
All right, thanks,
very
Patty.
good, thank you.
It's interesting though on the school.
Yeah, so,
It's been closed for more than 180 days?
oh, I'm sure. I think it's been here.
It's not school anymore then.
Yeah, so we'll,
You can't be a resident.
Well, it was approved as a school and a residence. And-
What's it being used for now?
Well,
It ain't
it's
vacant.
vacant at this point in time, but it still has a, it's still a residence. Residences can be vacant for years when they're in foreclosure, and so I think, I don't know, so you tell me what the concern is so that I can have the
Well,
building
as
inspector
far as
address that.
zoning goes, you can only have so many principal use buildings on a lot. David, can you, correct me wrong, how many residences can we have per lot?
Well, we're only talking about lot number 2 right now,
Right.
and there's only one residence.
so this lot.
We're talking
Now
about
you're
lot
talking
number
about
2.
Yeah, but I'm talking about this lot, the big lot.
Lot 1 is pre-existing,
Not if we add this to it.
so we're increasing the density of a lot, and you think that's going to create,
Well, I think it's just, it raises up the fact that everything should come into compliance. I mean, the school no longer exists as a school.
the school's on lot number 2, which has nothing to do with lot number 1. Again, I have right now 3 existing lots, and I'm just
Right.
adjusting lot lines, trying to increase the density on lot number 1 that has multiple dwellings on it.
Actually,
But I'm very sympathetic with it, I'm not trying to be argumentative. I'm
Land.
just trying to work it out in terms
Right,
of,
increasing the land
Land,
mass,
right.
right.
so decreasing the density per
We know what you
dwelling.
there's no way under zoning we could have ever approved this today. So I just want to make sure that going through this,
Right, we don't create a
we don't create
situation
problems in
that's-
the future.
And I think that's why the planner and the building inspector had recommended that we go through the record and list on the map what the approved uses were for each dwelling, and make sure that each one had a certificate of occupancy, which we did,
Okay,
and those have been listed. I mean, should I get I'm just trying to find out what the board would require to have a comfort level as far as the uses. Do you want a letter of determination from the building inspector that lot 1 is in compliance, or, is considered at this point in time not to be a non-compliant lot? Because I understand you don't want to take something that's not in compliance
Right.
from the building inspector standpoint and enlarge it.
right.
But if that lot currently is deemed to be compliant, do you still have an issue with it being added on to with additional land? Is there a second concern?
If it's in compliance, I have no problem.
Okay. So maybe I can consult with the building inspector and see whether he
Right.
can, okay.
I just have questions whether or not you're going to find out that this is a vacant building. It can possibly be in compliance.
No, that's not vacant.
This one.
This one is vacant.
That lot.
That's the school?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the school.
Some of the-
Yeah, these are all occupied. You want to sort that out?
Well, now what brings in the problem is that now how close are we to the lot lines with that building?
Which one, this one?
Yep.
It's,
Well, that's why I was
That's an
asking about the
existing lot
existing
line.
lot line.
it's an existing
Right.
lot line, and that's not changing. And it is, in fact, 12.7, and if it's a residence, it's 12.5 feet.
Right.
So it's okay.
Okay, good. Thank God. It's close.
But it's the
It is
step-
close.
the steps,
It's close.
Close is good enough.
the steps are a little
Close.
close,
The
are in
steps
within
are.
it, but the building
The
itself is
building
not.
envelope is not.
Right.
This is the former school. I'm sorry.
That's
I thought
correct.
that was the
No,
former
no, this
school.
is the school. These have always been residences that were part of what was
Discovery
then the
Institute.
Discovery Institute when this was the school building. So this was always the school building. These were residences. so-
And still are, of the members of the not-for-profit
Right.
Discovery Institute.
So how we change the school to a house? Do we have to do anything to make that approval?
Well, again, the certificate of occupancy right now says school and 1-bedroom apartment. That's what the Board of Health approval is, that's what the special use permit is, that's what the certificate of occupancy is. So it's still a 1-bedroom apartment with a big vacant room above it.
Storage.
Yeah, but also, given that it's in a residential district, I mean, it would be coming more into compliance.
Oh, yeah, no. I
If
want
it was a
to see it
residence
work.
rather than a
Yeah, yeah.
school, right.
I want to see us do it right, that's all.
Yeah, so I think we should have Brian pull, or Christina pull up the records for this property. We can look
I mean,
at,
if we can
all- I mean, it's
expand
all
it-
summarized here, but we can,
If we can expand the apartment use to include the whole building,
right.
why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, and I'm sure that I can ask the building inspector for a letter of determination.
Yeah.
Their records were great downstairs.
And then also, so we keep things moving, presumably the subdivision and covenants that have been provided will be forwarded to your attorney for Da Vinci Way,
Mhm.
for them to review that.
for the easement and that.
Yeah, the mutual
Right,
responsibilities for that,
yep,
that would be
Right.
forwarded to your attorney.
yep. Okay. Anything else?
Sorry for the confusion, Rich.
It's okay.
I was the one who was confused. I thought this was the school.
Yeah, no, that's different.
Hence the large driveway coming down.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
Okay?
so we're good for now, so we'll wait to get more materials from you.
Okay.
We'll see you again.
Thank you very much.
Sure, thanks,
Come
Patty.
back in 2 weeks, Michael?
I don't know.
Yeah,
It depends on.
yeah, it's gonna be
Got
on,
anything?
I wanna meet with Musamichi and make sure that they understand where the new lot line is going, before I come back and propose something to the board
So it
that.
probably won't be 2 weeks.
So it might, yeah,
Probably be in a month.
probably be in a month.
So, this, would like to get the submissions, changes and stuff within 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thanks. Okay, so that's it for applications for this evening. So, Bill and Liz, the situation with ongoing 2/12/23 updates?
I'm afraid I did not make that meeting. I
Oh,
had a
okay.
family emergency
Okay,
to tend
that's
to,
fine.
so Bill,
I mean,
Excellent.
and we're very close,
Okay,
closer than ever before. And we will be able to give you our final draft by next meeting of 2/12/23 revisions.
okay, great.
In a nutshell.
Okay, good. So we'll have that in time for our next meeting.
We have a meeting this week, possibly another one the following week. When is this meeting? I believe it's also the same Friday.
Okay, so we'll plan to try to look at that on the first.
If you would like it prior, which I'm shooting for, to give it to you guys for the agenda packets.
Yeah, we may, the first is starting to look incredibly busy, and so we may actually not do that until the 15th. So I'll put that down tentatively, which will give you a little more time to stitch it all together. Okay. So we have minutes from February 2nd, and you guys have any changes at this point?
I have a question on page 2.
Sure.
I'm not sure if it was stated clearly or not, but the applicant discusses further possibilities for second floor usage, since NDR is a new district. Every use would be a special use permit.
Okay.
Is that exactly what we conveyed? I thought we said something different.
Yeah, I would, not sure about that language. It's not because it's a new district that every use is a special use, that just is, it just is. In the NVR district, every use is a special use permit. But I'm not sure that I remember why that was relevant to this discussion.
It was about business
I
or
mean,
at-home business on the second floor.
Yeah, the types of businesses.
types of businesses that are
Types of businesses on
allowed.
the second floor, yeah.
so that they could get reviewed.
Right.
Okay, I mean, I remember the discussion about everything being a special use permit made it potentially more difficult for them to pre-lease.
That's right.
I would modify that. So instead of since NBR is a new district, I would just say in the NBR district. Every use is, it's not will be, is a special use permit. And rather than every use, it's every allowable use, because it's not every use. Lots of things are prohibited. You got all that, Christina?
Yes.
Okay, good. Any other changes? Thanks, Bill.
So move.
All right, motion to approve minutes.
So moved.
by
Second.
Rich. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Webpage. Bill had some comments. Did you guys have a chance to look? Do you have any thoughts or suggestions? Either on what he proposed or anything of your own?
Well, I have a little bit of a problem with putting the bio on there.
Yeah, I'm not particularly interested in doing that. It's an okay idea, but I don't,
Yeah, some planning boards do.
yeah, I think we'll pass on that. Other stuff? I failed to notice, do we have, on that page, is there a way to contact you?
Yeah, that's been forwarded to Kate.
Okay.
Because we had gone through some of those
There should be a link.
issues and asked her to put like a hyperlink on it so people could just click on it and it would
Yes.
take them directly to me or.
Yeah, you should have an
So-
email link so that people
Yeah.
can pull up your email
That's right.
from that, and also make sure that there's a phone number to reach you.
Did anybody read the blurb of, what the planning board is, and did you have any suggestions or changes to that?
So, it's a little brief. The one comment in particular is it says, refers to special permits, but I prefer that it say special use permits. So it'd be a little more specific, because it is particularly about uses. It's okay, I didn't write any new text. You could probably say a little more about sort of what the planning board does or how it goes about its business, but I gather there's a whole FAQ section still potentially to come, which maybe would be a better place to answer questions about process.
I haven't heard of that.
Well, there is the placeholder there for
Oh, I see.
frequently asked questions. It's
Okay.
on the bottom of the page, below the forms. So if that's going to get developed. The other thing is, as a matter of process again, the current applications are not current.
Yeah.
On that page, there's nothing from 2016 up there, and I'm not sure that even and furthermore, what's listed as current applications, almost all of them have been, if not all of them, have been closed at this point. Decisions have been made. So I don't know if the intent is to keep everything up there and accessible, but then we need to move it to a different location where it's
No archive.
not current, yeah.
If it's already a done deal, then
And it should indicate what was done and when. So I don't know is it your responsibility to put current materials up there?
No, I have no access to the website whatsoever.
Okay.
So.
I think that's who did it before was the planning and zoning secretary.
Okay,
The planner would make those requests that things be updated
okay.
with new applications, but I believe that's the planning.
All right,
I'll
so
ask
so
about
we either
that.
need to get rid of that section or get it so that it can stay current. And if it's, if it's going to be part of the problem with the website in the past, at least a long time ago, was that putting materials up there was not a simple process. It was kind of arduous. And if it's simple and you can just, make a couple of clicks and things are up there, that's fine. But if it's going to take a huge amount of your time, like an hour out of your day to put new applications up, then we have to consider whether that's the right way to do it.
I don't think it's a necessary part of the website.
To have current applications up?
Right.
I do not
Because,
think it is.
Well, because one, I don't think it does take a lot of time, which none of us, including our secretary, has
right,
extra time. Two, it can lead to some mistakes and misunderstandings if not read properly. Who is going to check?
the maintenance of that
Yeah.
would be a bear.
I don't see a need for it, it's a public
Yeah, not at
We
this point.
post them in the public what the current applications are. But I don't know if you have to also put them on the website.
So how about if we just list what the active applications are? But don't necessarily have materials, but just.
Just
list
the
it.
application number?
Yeah, so list the number and the address and
That would
the
be
name
fine
of
with
the
me.
application.
Yeah.
That's okay
So-
with me, yeah.
You know, so people know, oh, there's this thing in my neighborhood that is just. came in front of
That's,
the planning
yeah,
board.
and if they have inquiries, they can,
Yeah,
I'd rather do that than
makes
try to
sense.
write in something that required updating.
Well, yeah, it would, of course. So maybe.
But if we were to just have a quick blurb, kind of like the way we list it on the agenda, that would be very easy to update.
Now, the town, I don't know how Kelly does it, but for most applications, they do put up the materials.
I'll have to talk to
Um,
him.
Which doesn't mean that we should, I understand your concerns, because it is, you want to make sure that everything is up there and.
Well,
and-
and the applications, that they would change so much that, yeah, I think that maintenance and keeping it updated would turn into practically a full-time job
All right,
for someone. We don't really have the personnel for that right now.
all right, well, maybe if you want to talk to her and find out what is involved in that process, how they do it, then we can, if it seems like in general it's a feasible thing to do and there's some value in it, then we can come back and look at that again. Otherwise, for now, let's set it up so that there's just a list of current applications using basically the planning board number, the address, and what else would be,
I would think that's
that
enough.
should probably be enough, I
Yep.
think.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, just like we have.
Just the top line that we have there.
Yeah, I think there must be issues with maintenance, because I don't think the minutes or agendas are updated either.
No, they haven't been, and
So-
those actually do need to stay current.
Yeah.
That's something that's important. Because I know people do go in and look at minutes, and at the very least, the current agenda should go up, you know, when it's finalized and it's going out to everybody, it should
Yeah.
also go up on the website,
I agree.
so, should make sure.
Bill also brought an interesting point. Does
What's
it
that?
not say we don't need building? There's nothing on there that says building permits required?
Right. Yeah, that's something that we should.
Don't we even have signage on the way to town saying building permits
I
required?
thought there were those,
I think there was at one point. but
Wasn't there? There used to be road
there were
signage.
road signs that, as you entered the village.
Not anymore.
No,
And there's nowhere on the site that says building permit required, as far as I can find.
all right, well, that's something we should look into.
Oh,
I
boy,
think.
are they required.
Well,
Yeah, we should definitely look into that, because I'm surprised those signs aren't there. I guess you get so used to things, you know.
Yeah,
They're there, but not anymore.
They were, and they're not.
Okay, I'm sure, yeah, you were looking, so.
Is that like, you know, sometimes it's nice to withdraw law and sometimes signs become, I don't know, is it fair to say that it's almost a redundant sign at the community border?
Oh, I don't think we should put up signs around the borders, but I think on the
Should put it
website.
on the website.
I
Yeah,
think it's a great idea to put on the website.
yeah.
All right, so let's make sure that
I
we
didn't
get
know
that
building permit
done.
was required.
Okay, I'm gonna move on to, you listed here, Christina, the mandatory 4 hours of training, but
Yes.
the last thing I saw was, did you have specific things that you wanted people to know about, or just
No,
reminding members that they need to get their
Right.
training who don't have it?
that's right.
Okay.
Reminding everybody, because really, I think the only one who has training that lasts through 2017 is you, so.
Okay.
And I've been sending stuff out, so I hope everybody's been getting that.
Yeah, and,
We just signed up John Litton for one that's right at Boise's, right down the
Right.
street at Boise's, there's a training
for
session.
flood resilience. And you also just gave everybody the expiration date, so you can be aware. For the full members, it's one person per year whose term comes up. So my term is up this year, then Liz's, then John's, then Ritsudo, and then you.
How did I get to be on for so long?
You're on until, actually, you're on here until 2097. No, I'm just kidding.
I just got reappointed.
You just got reappointed. You're on until 2019. Oh, no, Ritsudo is one after you. Sorry, he's 2020. I thought these were in order. And then alternates are 2-year terms, so yours, Bill, is up in 2017, along with Liz.
When I first saw that, I thought, what the heck?
So,
How did I get to be so honored?
yep, so you only have me for a few more months. Okay, so let's see. So for March 1st, our next meeting, the major application that we'll have is the Net Zero Development. They've submitted their application today, and that needs to get sorted out by the building inspector, reviewed by the building inspector and by David. And then we'll make sure if it's all set, we'll send it out to Barton and LaJudas and to our attorney and to several other folks. So we'll need to talk about that tomorrow, Christina. We have 2 other applications that came in, both for residential. One's for new house construction on Plains Road, and one is for a major addition or modification to a house on Elton Avenue.
What?
Yeah. And so we probably won't be seeing the subdivision that we were just at tonight. Don't expect that. So at this point, we will plan to do all 3 of these, but we'll decide tomorrow after we've had a chance to look at more of the materials. And then we'll have a public hearing for the Woodland Pond. In addition to that, then we'll want to make sure that everybody looks at the MS4 materials and provides feedback to Dave so that we can move that along. So I would like to make sure that we have something definitive so that we can, if there's a discussion that we want to have, if you get things in ahead of time, that's great. But let's try to move that along at the next meeting. The 2/12/23, I think we'll hold up until the 15th. And so the subdivision definition, I think, is pretty straightforward. We've gotten comments from both Dave and from our attorney. It's pretty much just a reconciliation between 2 parts of the code, so we should plan to do that. And the recreation fee, perhaps we'll put it on and we'll see how late the meeting goes about whether or not we cover that. That'll be a bit more of a discussion, but we now have comments both from our planner and from our attorney about that. And there's a bit of history around the rec fee stuff, so we want to take a little time with that one. So that's what we have planned for next time. And other than that,
I might
anything
as well
else?
just mention, you should have, I think it was in your package, but Goodwill Church is now proceeding towards action. There's a
Right.
reports come in from the Department of State on that.
Oh, they
It has
actually,
come in, they've approved.
I thought it was
the last thing they decided was they were going to go ahead and because they hadn't heard from the Department of State, I thought that they were going to go ahead and provide handicap access to the 2nd floor.
The
I
Department,
thought that there was a,
But maybe something's happened since
the
then.
Department of State weighed in and they said that he does not need to
Oh,
have access.
okay.
So any more details Bryant is aware of. but,
Okay. Oh, no, I definitely didn't
I'm
hear about
sorry.
that.
And
No, that's okay.
As I went to look at the email, I had printed off the wrong one.
No, that's okay.
And so that is my understanding, that state said it can go forward without an elevator.
Okay, so then I should we have a final site plan for them?
I think they're getting in contact with us. I'll look into that and
Okay.
talk to them.
So something that we'll
I
just
just
need to
thought
sign
we
off
were
on.
updating.
No, thank you for that. I had definitely not had heard that. So, good. Anything else from you, Liz?
No, sir.
Nope. All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you guys. Short and sweet, I like that. You guys need something signed, bring it up.
He's good at signing stuff.
Aw, thanks.
Since he's feeling sick, can I get you to tell me exactly what the wooden farm thing is? Since
Yeah,
you mentioned it.
You remember a couple years ago, we put those little meeting houses? So,
Yeah.
involved